Hello everyone, George Packard with Family Lawn and Landscape, and today I have a little project. We had a problem with this trimmer and I wanted to show you guys how I fixed this thing. The problem with the trimmer was we couldn't get it to prime up, okay? So by prime up I mean, you know, when you press a little bulb you're trying to prime the gas up to get it to go in there and get the thing to start, okay? Get the gas in the carburetor. It wouldn't prime up. So the first thing I look at is this little bulb that's right on top right here. This is a lot of the time what the problem is. Usually there'll be a tear in there, there'll be a rip in there or something like that. So the first thing I did is I went and bought some of these bulbs. Usually I keep them on hand. I didn't have any. I had to go get them, whatever. Put that on. It didn't make any difference. So then I started thinking, okay, what else could it be? I remember what somebody told me about this. I want you guys to pay attention to this. I'm going to turn this light up a little brighter just so you can see what this is and what I'm talking about. If you watch in this tank right here, I've got a new bulb on top, and as I start to prime it, if you can see those air bubbles that are coming up? That means that there's air in that gas line. There's a break in that gas line. It's sucking in air, and therefore that's what's causing it not to prime up. I remember somebody telling me about that back in the day. So what I do, I always keep, like carburetors, I keep those on hand because these things are always buy them, throw them away after they take a shit. Rather, you can't really repair them, they're just throwaways. And I always keep the gas lines in here, okay? So make sure I have an extra one of those. So now, and to show you the difference, I just want to show you, like on this one, if you go to prime this, you'll notice that there's no air bubbles that come through. There's no air bubbles bubbling up from the bottom here. Okay? So, therefore, in all my infinite wisdom, I have determined that it should be this. So, what I'm going to do is put on my old man glasses because I'm getting older. One of the first things you do is pop this carburetor off. Get this off, out of the way. Pull this filter off. And there's a couple of screws that are right in here, or nuts actually, that I want to take off. You can see how your choke mechanism works on this. Goes up and down. So now I've got to take this off. But before I do that, I better back up. One thing I want to do is I want to clean this. And what I use is this brake and parts cleaner. Okay? So what I do, shoot it in there, watch your eyes. Stuff will come out of there pretty quick. Get all of that in there real good. Cleans up nice. Then what I do, after I get that nice and cleaned out of there, don't shoot my camera guy in the face first. Take my air gun and blow it out. Okay. Reason being, you want it to be as clean as possible when you get in there and go to work on this, because you see all the little particles and everything that came out of here once I started to spray the brake clean in. All that stuff, you don't want a chance getting that in your carburetor or in your tank, because it'll screw you up down the line. So, that being said, I'm going to take this off. Hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing here. My other benches are jam-packed full of stuff, so that's not going to be easy to get out. But alright, so now my two little nuts. These are handy little things, these little magnetic tray holders. These are handy so your nuts don't go flying all over the floor on you. Now gets me to the carburetor issue. Okay, what I want to do is pull these things off, which I can do. Pull those off right away. So now I can just slide this carb You got to be careful with this because you want to put everything back just the way you had it on there, okay? So, we know that that's got to go into place. There's a little gasket. You got to make sure that goes back on. Make sure you don't rip this trying to take it off. Clean that right away. It's another thing if you guys are using shop rags and whatnot. I mean, I always just take all our old clothes and I never throw anything out. Always recycle, reuse everything right to the very end. So, we've got that set up. Clean off the carb. Make sure nothing gets in there. It's nice and clean. Set that to the side. Now here's our problem area, right here. So I've got to get this to come out of there. I may need to get a screwdriver out of here. Excuse me. Second. This thing is shot anyway, so I'm going to pull it out. Alright, now, there's your gas filter, okay? Gas filter always sits inside there, so you want to just pull that off. Here's your junk piece. So now refasten your new one on. Again, make sure you get as much dirt out of the way as you can so you don't allow anything to get down in that hole. Should have emptied the gas out of this in hindsight.
Okay.
Alright, so now we got that secured in place. And now we have to make sure that we get the carburetor back the way it was. So this goes down in here. I got to get these on there first, I think. Methinks. This one should go on there. Want to make sure you get those hoses on tight. Can you see? Are you in a good spot where you can see this? Mm-hmm. Okay. Get this, put that on. Make sure they're pushed all the way up to tight. Make sure this is tight around here. Put your gasket back in place. Then, I'm going to put this thing back on. This thing goes in here, like so. Now, I'm going to line it back up, eventually. Don't I make this look easy at home? What the? Well, look, man, you're starting to annoy me, man. All right. It was not that hard when I took it off. Now that came out. For the love of Pete. Put this in. Your little throttle cable, you got to make sure that that's back in place. All right, you go under there. You come here. Now, nothing to it, right? All right, now we know that this has to go on. And then, this could be a tricky part. Kind of flip it up. I can try to get these nuts started on there. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Can you see this? Mm-hmm. All right. So I'm like a surgeon of sorts at the moment. So now, get that on there just so it's sitting, and hopefully you can get that on. Hopefully it'll start for me. Oh yeah, she's on. So, get that tightened back up. Tighten the other one. And now, if everything goes right, there won't be any air bubbles, and they will start to prime the bulb. And it didn't go right because I still have air bubbles. What? All right, so I tried to put a new bulb in here. That didn't work. Then I replaced the fuel line, which was cracked because it was blowing air bubbles inside here, as we could see before. And I thought for sure that was it. Put everything back together, that still isn't it. So now what I went and did is went down, got a new carburetor, and we're going to throw that on and see if that does the trick. So, back to square one again. It's real simple to change these out. I mean, there's not much to them. That's why I suggest you guys change them out yourself instead of having mechanics do it down at the shop, you know, for 60 bucks an hour or what have you. Just pull those lines off. Mark one. There. Pull that off. Take that out. The new one will go on like so. Make sure the gasket goes back in place. Try to make sure these things aren't kinked off when you put them back on, and always remember which one they went on. You know, I remembered this one went on the black one. It's longer, so obviously it reaches up farther. So now I'm going to get this thing back in place and get it hooked down. So we're going to come over here and try and feed it back down on that, which sometimes is an easy task and sometimes it is not. Alright, what's stopping it? Upside down. There we go. There we go. Alright, you get back up in there. You get back in there. Flip that up like so. Make sure that you clean all the dirt off of this and make sure there's no dirt getting where that gasket is, because you really want that to seal well. Alright. So now, we're going like so. That will go like so. This has to be it. Having gone through the simplest things first, like replacing that bulb, that's the first thing, because they usually just dry out in the sun and crack, and then, you know, usually you'll see gas spilling out of them, but not always. And so I replaced that. That didn't do it. Then I went back, thought, okay, it's got to be the gas line because I saw the bubbles in the tank. Replaced that. It still didn't do it. So the only thing left is a new carburetor. So these carbs are built so you can't work on them today. They're just basically throwaways. So now we've got that done. Filter back in here like so. Now I'll put this back on like so. And now see if we can get her to pump up. There it is. There it is. Now she's got gas coming in there. It was something in that carburetor. So there's, I mean, just the way they make these things today, they just don't want you working on them. A lot of times you can take these off. There's little jets in here, and I've watched these guys down at the shop. They'll just take their air gun and they'll just blast these little holes everywhere in there, and they'll take this off and they'll blast them and clean them, because all it takes is just a little speck of anything to get in there and screw them up, you know. So, but they're basically built to throw away. They're 30 bucks. You can't pay a guy at the shop that's going to charge you a minimum of, you know, 80 bucks an hour if that's their shop rate, besides that part, you know. So 110 bucks or whatever, but I just did it myself and did it in 5 minutes, you know. So anyway, let's see if she starts, and if it does, that is the answer to our problem. Ta-da! That's it. 30 bucks. Do it yourself. Way easier. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. Thanks, guys. See you later.